Hey everybody, welcome to my Crafter's Cove. I had a special request. And so I'm going to do something a little different today. I know we usually do paper crafting, but one of the things that I do enjoy and I have pretty good success at is decoupage. So I had a request for someone to do something with gnomes, and so I'm going to do that. But I wanted to show you a couple of things about how it's done, and I'll try to go slow so that you understand what the process is. But here's just for your understanding and information. Here's like one little bottle that I've done. It is not finished, as you can see. It's just the very beginnings. I still have to do the finishing touches and maybe put another coat of sealer on it. And fall is coming, believe it or not. And so I decided to take some cute fall shapes that I've had from when I was with a Chocateur, and I had bought some pumpkins, and so I decided to put some pretty pumpkin decoupage on there. And here's the larger one. Okay, and then last but not least, you are not going to be able to see all of this really well, I don't think, but I got this very cute little tin watering can, and I decided to crackle it and put some decoupage on it. So those are some of the things I've done just recently to try to have some things to put in my little shop. The first thing I want to show you is how I go ahead and paint the jars. I'm not going to do them all, because all the jars, because I do 3 or 4 coats, and it does take a while, and that would just be too long. So in this case, this is just a little jar that I don't know, probably a pickle jar of some sort, but I'm just going to use it as my example. And I'm just going to show you real quick. This is the paint that I use. This is called Diamond Hard Repurpose. I get this off of Amazon, and I love it because it's self-leveling, and it's very it's just got a very nice finish, a very hard, firm finish. So we're going to open this guy up real quick, and let me see if I can get my little, and I'm just going to show you really quickly how I go ahead and like I say, I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm just going to do a little bit so you see how it's done. So I use a little pouncer like this. This one is been used several times, so it looks pretty ratty, but this is the type of thing that I use. And I would pour probably a little bit of this paint into my little container, but since we're doing just a little bit this time, I'm not going to do it that way. So I'm just going to grab a little paint off of here and just show you. Basically, I'm going to start, and I'm just going to start pouncing my jar. And I'm going to go over the jar multiple times with this paint, 2, 3, 4 times. You can tell when you've reached what you want, because once it dries, you won't see shadowing. It'll just look like a fairly flat finish. Now, it does not have to be perfect, because once you add your picture, your image, you know, you're going to cover any minor shadows or minor showings and that kind of thing. So I don't worry about it being perfect. But yeah, you just go around the whole thing and let it dry. And I do this, like I say, I'll do it 2 or actually 3 or 4 times, because I like to have a nice finish. But we're just going to do this one time and let it dry, and then I'll show you the decoupage process. Thank you for watching. For those of you who are paper crafters, I know that is basically what we are focused on lately in my Crafter's Cove, but I do like to do some different things occasionally, and I don't know if you're interested in this or not. If you are, that's wonderful. If you're not, that's okay. I'll have other crafting videos, paper crafting videos, and every once in a while I'll probably throw something else in. And like I said, this was a request, and I am more than happy to hear what you might be requesting, and to try to show you how I would do certain things. Now, there are other people that do this differently, guys, for sure, and there are people who are much more experienced than I, although I have been doing this for quite a while and have some pretty good success with it, and I certainly enjoy it. I do not have any talent as an artist with regards to painting and or drawing. I always wanted to, so I take beautiful images that I either find or buy, from digital artists to be able to do this kind of thing with. You can do decoupage with lots of different papers. You can do it with scrapbook papers, which is something that we might do if you guys think that might be interesting. You have to thin it out a little bit usually. Okay, so as you see, the first layer is a pretty good cover. And that's all we're going to do with this guy today, because like I say, it's 3 coats and drawing in between. If you're in a real big hurry, you can go ahead and dry it with a dryer like this. And that helps to move the process along. But in this case, we're just going to set it aside. And I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of the paint off of this. Excuse my arm, but that's how I save what I got. So I get the paint off the paint stick. Now obviously you just pour it into a little container and you can go from there with it. So we'll shut that, and that is the process that I use for painting all of my jars and stuff. People often ask, why do you always paint it in white? And the answer to that question is when you use a darker color, your image doesn't pop. It doesn't show up as well. And so white is just the image to go with for that. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. And here's a little bottle that I got, and I picked it up at Hobby Lobby, and we're going to go ahead and use this. And I wanted to show you this is one of the images we're going to use. It's a little girl gnome with a little dandelion that's gone to seed. And I wanted to show you what you do when you're printing your own images online. You go ahead and you tape with Scotch tape around the edge, and I also do on the side of the edge that is going to be feeding into my computer, into my printer, because sometimes it'll get buckling at the bottom, and I don't want buckling. So I just wanted to show you. See, it's just a piece of tracing paper over hard cardstock, and then I feed it through the back, and my printer is a Canon, and it prints through the back, and then I get my little image. So this is the image that we're going to work with, and one of them. Then we're going to go ahead, and the next thing we do, I'm going to put my glasses on because I just like it if I can see a little more clearly. We're going to tear around our image. If it's a napkin image, you're going to do the same process. But you're going to, usually there's 3 layers to a napkin. You're going to take it down to the first layer, okay, the first layer. And you're going to use that top layer when you do your decoupage. Otherwise, you will get wrinkle, 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 a lot of wrinkles underneath your image if you don't take it down to the first one. Now, of course, obviously with this is the first layer, so we're just going to trim off the excess. We may still have excess when we put it on, but that's okay too. Okay, so here she is. We've got a little boy one too. And if there's a little bit more, I'm just going to take a little bit more off here. Yep. Let's trim it down to where you want it. So, a lot of times people will take a little paintbrush with water, and if you stay far enough away from your image, because otherwise you get water on your image, obviously it's going to bleed and then you'll be unhappy. But if you take, they use a paintbrush and they'll go around the edge and they'll trim it out. Okay, so then I'm going to find where I want my image on here. And I think she's going to be just fine, just like that. I'm going to make sure she sits, when I set her down, I want her to be straight, okay? So I'm going to set that on there. Then I'm going to take my Mod Podge. This is a matte finish Mod Podge. And I'm going to use my little tray. And I'm going to put some in my tray. And then I'm going to go back again with another little pouncer brush. I have found that when I use something like this, it gives me a thin enough layer that it gives me less wrinkles to work with at the beginning when I want to work out and give it a smooth finish. So let's go ahead and see. Let me make sure I have my girl where I want her now. And we will probably, you know, when I'm done with this project, we'll probably do flecking, paint flecking around it that it has coordinating colors. It'll be real cute. All right, so what I like to do is I like to go like on one side first because then I can kind of lay that down. So I'm just going to put a little Mod Podge on my sponge, and then I'm just going to go and thinly kind of go like this around it. The thinner the better, okay? Too thin though, and you're not going to get, it's not going to lay down for you the way you want it to. You're going to have wrinkles to begin with, guys. It's just the way the process is, that there are ways to work out your wrinkles, so don't worry about that. So that, now I have my initial start there, and she's in place. And I'm going to go ahead and, oh, I didn't realize I had a little piece under there. I'm glad I found that. Okay. I'm going to go right up to her edge there. I want it right up to the edge, and then I'm going to go all the way over because I'm going to see if hopefully I can get it all in. All right, and then we're just going to we're going to smooth it down. I have a little piece of plastic wrap or saran wrap, if you will, and you can go ahead and just use that to smooth it down. Sometimes when you use your fingers to begin with, you can press a little too hard and you'll end up tearing your image. So I just very gently will take this and go over it. Then I will look and see, and I look for my wrinkle areas, and I'll just kind of smooth them out as I see them, okay? But when I'm going to put a top coat on this, and when I do that, this is going to wrinkle all up again, but you will be surprised. I think I have to get down here at this bottom. There's a little bit of a lift here, and I want to make sure I get under there. Sometimes I'll take my scissor and just cut right in that center area. Why? Because I don't want to force that down, and I do need to get under there so that I can get the look I need. And as you can see, once you do that, you can't see that edge, okay? I like the way this is looking from the standpoint of not having too many wrinkles right this second. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to put my top coat on there. And my top coat is the same thing. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to make sure my edges are good here. I'm going to go ahead and use the Mod Podge again. Now, this is printed on with, inkjets, not a laser jet. So I have to be careful. I don't want to smear my ink. So that's why I came up with this, where I just go in and I pounce over the top of the entire image. And that way this will seal my ink, because I'm going to come back over this again, and I'm going to do, 2 or 3 more coats of a sealer, because I like my images to stay put. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but can you see the wrinkles? There's wrinkles here, wrinkles down here. There's wrinkles pretty much all over it. The reason I'm showing you that is because I don't want you to kind of panic about that. So I'm going to take my dryer, and I'm going to start drying my tissue off. As I dry, and as it starts to feel more dry, not just look dry, I'll start to kind of press out any additional wrinkles that I might see or have. Okay? All right. Keep going. All right, so now it's not 100% dry, guys. I'm just barely touching this, okay? I'm barely touching this with my finger. I can certainly use but I'm still going to touch it gently. I'm not going to come in too hard with this. See, like even that was, you know, it's still too wet. So I'm going to go ahead and dry some more. The more you dry, the more the wrinkles disappear to begin with. And then after you get a drier image, then you'll be able to work the rest of the whatever, you know, wrinkles you might see out of it, okay? What a cute little image with the little... All right, let me see if this is... You can kind of just run your hand over it, okay? Just run your hand over it. See if it feels dry enough. If you feel it's like, I can feel it's still tacky. If it feels tacky, do not press hard. If you press hard, you're in a very good, you're in a pretty good place to tear your image, okay? And I mean, it's not the end of the world. I have certainly done that before. It is repairable, and it can be fixed, but you definitely, if you can avoid it, you want to avoid it. I'm going to show you this a little closer if I can. Okay, so now you can still see how much better it is, though it's almost where we want it. There's some down here, but again, it feels dry enough now. See, I can press a little bit harder on some of these areas that I'm not still satisfied with. This side still feels a little tacky. Now, also, I wanted to show you something. You can do this with a bone folder or anything that's like has a smooth plastic edge that isn't going to tear. You can take it and, like, I have a little bit of a wrinkle right here, and I am just going to kind of use this to rub over it in that exact spot and do a little bit more. Boy, that just, see, and that just will take it right out if that's, you know, an area that needs a little extra work. You can use the other side. This is from Cricut. You can get these at the craft store, though, Cricut tools. And I'll tell you, even though I don't do vinyl a whole lot anymore, I do a lot of paper cutting, and I do a lot of crafting with it. So I will use it. I use my stuff a lot. I use all of my tools more than I ever thought I would when I wasn't doing vinyl. So they are worth spending the money if you want to. Now, I am rubbing on this guy really gently, okay? Really gently. I'm going to quickly go over this one more time. Be careful when you're drying. If you use a heat dryer like this, be careful that you don't get too close to your image. It'll make it bubble, and then you have that kind of a weird look there. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. I see a little edge here that I need to get. Didn't quite seal down, but this is when you can go back and just get over your edges there, and if you have any that come up. Now for this guy, I am pretty happy with how the initial image is looking. Okay, I feel pretty good. Now I'm going to let this dry for a little bit, but we're going to do the other side because I'm ready to turn it over. It's not going to stick anymore to the towel that I have down, and it'll hold its place. But I have another little guy I want to do on the other side, so we have a two-sided image. And then of course I'll decorate the bottle, and it'll be very cute when it's done. But this is the basic process that I use. Now at the end of this, or after I dry this, I'm going to go back with either a Duraclear High Gloss, and I'll do probably 2 or 3 coats of this. If you don't like a high gloss, they have a Duraclear Ultra Matte, and it'll give it a more flat finish. I've just found that, and I like that too. I've just found that I like the, when I do a gloss, it gives it a kind of an upbeat, it pulls the image out is what I'm trying to say. It pulls the image out. So anyway, there's our girl. And then we're going to turn it on over, and we'll do we'll tear out our little guy gnome. And I think he's pretty darn cute too. He's got a little check outfit. I thought that was cute. Now, you know, I suppose if you wanted to, you could just leave it on or leave a lot of the tissue on and just go over almost the whole bottle and kind of then tear it off at the end. I think I tried that a couple times. I just I wasn't really thrilled with how that worked. It worked. It wasn't a loss, but you know, I guess once you get something that you feel is working for you, you just want to kind of hang with it. All right, so let's see how I like this guy. Make sure he's gonna sit still where I like him. There we go. And I think I like him right about there. Maybe I'll pull him over just a little bit. I want you to know, guys, that I'll probably come back and touch up some of the areas that I see that kind of bled through. This bottle did not get the third coat. I just wanted to do something real quick for the gal, for my sweet niece, actually, who requested this. So I just went ahead and grabbed this, and I'll probably do some touch-up. But in case you saw that bleeding through, you might have, and might not have. Okay, let me see if I just want him to sit straight. All right, I'm going to do the same darn thing. I'm just going to go ahead and add some Mod Podge. I'm going to pick a side and get a pretty good covering on it. And I'm pressing pretty well. And but you know, for my first layer, you do not want, listen carefully to this because it matters. You do not want a super thick or heavy layer of Mod Podge. Your napkin will become so saturated and so heavy that, or your napkin or your tissue, whatever you're using, it just will not. It will be so saturated that you will have so many wrinkles to try to work through. You'll just get very frustrated. Trust me, I have done this, and it is not a happy time. So, and if you're quick enough, you might be able to catch if you didn't quite lay that down right. That was a little bit more of a bubble than I wanted to have to deal with, for sure. All right. So there's my initial image down there. Now, if you want to see something too, I can show you something that's kind of, you know, give you an idea. Even though it looks like you've got like a massive amount of wrinkles going on or something, I'm just going around the edges, by the way. When you start to dry it, even on the first layer, you're like, oh wow, that's not as bad as I thought it was. So you can dry this first one fairly quickly too, as you work it out, before you put the second layer on. And that dries pretty quick, and the reason that dries quicker is because you didn't use as heavy of a coat. And when you're top coating this with a second layer of Mod Podge, it's a little thicker. Now this is still tacky, so I'm being very, very careful. I see a fairly good there, and I'll get rid of that little wrinkle there. You can, as you see them, don't just pick up your whatever tool you want. Use your hand, use your plastic wrap, use whatever you want, but just kind of work them until you don't feel them. I will, and then after this dries, you're going to take like a sandpaper like this guy, and you're just going to gently go over this image really gently, and then you'll go, when you put your gloss on, you'll sand that down a little bit, and again, and pretty soon, if you happen to have any wrinkles that you were still working on, they will disappear because they'll have coverage of they'll have coverage from the Duraclear. Okay, let me see. I can feel it here, but I'm not too worried about this because we're not done. We got another coat that we're going to go on there. Okay, so there's that. And now I'm going to go ahead and just go over the top of it and seal it like we did the other one. I'm going to get my edges if I missed any. I do like to go around the edges because sometimes those will lift up and be a problem. We don't need any problems. They're not a problem, really. They just lift up and you don't realize they're there, and then you're like, oh, I have to go back and do that again. It's not a problem. It's just a thing. All right, so there's that. You can see, again, how it raised, and there's wrinkles there. Look at that. And we're going to dry it out. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments. I'll try to get back to you. If there's anything you'd like to know that might help or that's not working for you, we can maybe brainstorm what might be the issue. All right, so there's that. That's still pretty wet there. Be careful. Again, we gotta be careful because we definitely do not. When it's still wet, that's the most critical time for you to make a boo-boo and tear your image. So just be patient, be a little patient with it. Be surprised at how quickly it comes together. And before you know it, you're doing this pretty quickly, and you're able to get quite a few images on your stuff that you on the products that you might have too. And this is a quick way to really uplift any kind of decor and just give it you know, a little life of its own. You can take the stuff that you like and put it on there, and in my case, I'll be taking most of this down to the booth that we have. My cards and stuff, I'm considering, my folios and whatnot, I'm considering selling those both at the booth and online. The bottles and stuff is just so cost prohibitive to mail them. You would be hard pressed to make it feel like it's worth your while. Oh, this is still pretty damp down here. See this little wrinkle here. I'll work that out a little bit. And all of the things now, from what I can see, from what this is turning out like, everything I have left here is going to easily disappear with my layers of high gloss sealant. Okay, so I'm going to show you real quick, and then we'll call it, and then I'll post this in the community page after I'm finished decorating it and after it's complete, so that you can see what it will finish out like. But I'm done now with my Mod Podge. I'm going to take my high gloss. I'm okay to put that in the same container or the same tray that I used for my Mod Podge. I'm going to take a little, let's see, I'm going to find a paintbrush. I like to use paintbrush here. I think I'm going to use this guy. Okay, so basically I'm just going to put it on, and then I'm going to paint just like that. I'm going to go over it, and you're going to have to kind of take it and look at it in a few different angles to make sure you've got all of it, because it's clear and sometimes it's a little hard to see. And also it has, if you know, I'm putting on a fairly decent coat, and I do not, it can run if you're not careful. So I just add my coat, and I'm turning the bottle so that I can see it towards the light to make sure that I haven't missed anything. You're going to see, again, you'll see wrinkles pop up in certain places. And you're going to go the same process. You're going to dry it. It's going to fade the wrinkles down quite a bit. And then you're going to go ahead and work them out. And then you'll put this coat on, and then you'll put this coat on, and then you'll let it dry, and then you'll sand it a little bit. I see the spot right here. And then you'll sand it a little bit, and then you're going to do another coat, and maybe a third or fourth coat. And then you're going to decorate the top, and I'll do some painting on the side. So anyway, that is my story, and I am sticking to it. And that's how she looks. So that is the process for decoupaging our little bottles. And you can, like I say, you can take anything. I have a little pickle jar there, and I'll be using that as well. So it's that easy. It's fun to do. I'd be happy to do more of these if you're interested. I mean, you can decoupage on just about anything, it seems like. And I'd be happy to show you how it's done if you're interested and if you want it to be part of my Crafter's Cove. So thank you so much for joining me at my Crafter's Cove, and for spending some time with me, and for just enjoying my videos. I would appreciate it if you'd subscribe, maybe share, and ask your friends to subscribe. I'm slowly growing, but it's taken time, as always with YouTube. But I love having you here. I thank you very much for joining me and for being a part of this. And I hope you have an absolutely wonderfully blessed day. We will talk to you soon, and I hope to see you again. God bless y'all. See you soon.